Good morning. My focus today is on Philippians 2, the first few verses of Philippians 2. Principally this phrase in verse 5, have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus. And I woke up this morning thinking, what does that mean? What is God saying to us through this simple phrase? I think in modern English you might say, let this attitude of mind be yours now, that Jesus had. And it's yours in Christ Jesus. It's part of your redemption. That amongst us as people, we should have the same mind, same attitude to life that Jesus had. So that takes us on to the question, so what was it that Paul is exhorting us to be like or to have amongst ourselves? And we go back to the beginning of the chapter. So he says, if there's any encouragement in Christ, any incentive of love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. He's saying the same thing at the beginning, that we should be like-minded. We should have the same attitude to life, the same mind. But what is that? What is that attitude of mind? And he gives us as an example, the example of Jesus, who did not, even though he was God and is God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself. But he says it in verse 3, much plainer for us. Do nothing from selfishness and conceit, but in humility count others better than yourselves. Look each of you not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. So what he's saying here is that this mindset that Jesus had was that he didn't think of himself first. He thought of others first. His focus was away from himself to others, to the needs of others. So much so that he left at one side all those qualities that you might think were so important. How would he feel laying them all aside and taking on the form of a servant? He who made everything. What was that like? You know, we are not ever going to get in this life what God has determined that we should have. So we shouldn't be looking for it here. We shouldn't be aiming for our own good, our own nest to be feathered. We should be looking to the interests of others. Do nothing from selfishness or conceit. Now that is a big thought. I don't know about you, but I don't think there's much of a day goes by when I'm not at the centre of my thoughts. What of everything? I mean, we are born selfish. Human beings are born selfish. You think of a baby. The baby has been born. The mother needs a rest. The mother is exhausted, tired out by the pregnancy. Does the baby care? No, not a bit of it. The baby just demands. Whatever the baby needs, the baby demands. The baby doesn't lie there thinking, well, I'd better snooze for about an hour, give mum a rest. No. I want attention, I'll cry for it. I want my nappy changed, I'll cry for it. If I'm hungry, I'll cry for it. If I don't know what I'm thinking, I'll cry. I want attention. It's me. And if you didn't notice, it's all about me. And of course, a baby needs to express its needs to begin with. But it's not very long before you have to teach a child that he is not the centre of the universe. He or she is not the centre of the universe. That actually they have to fit in to a world the world in which they've come. They are not the centre of it. They are not, well, although some people do make their lives revolve around the child, but you have to teach the child to fit in to the world and to actually consider others as they grow. And then you have to teach them to share, and then you have to teach them to communicate and to care for others. But this is what Paul says to us. He says, this is the mind that was in Jesus. The mind of Jesus was focused on other people. How often in the Gospels we read of him exhausted at the end of a day, and withdrawing with his disciples across the lake or up into the mountain to have some time to themselves. It's particularly noticeable after the death of his cousin John the Baptist. When he hears of it, he withdraws to have a bit of peace and quiet, a few moments to think and to mourn for his cousin. And what does he find? The crowd just pursue him. And instead of running further away, getting away, hiding from them, he responds to them in love. And he's quite exhausted a lot of the time because he gives his time, all of it, all of his attention is on the needs of those around him. He doesn't put himself first. He's quite honest and straightforward about who he is and his teaching. But even in those moments when he heals people, he says to them, doesn't he? Don't talk about this. Why? Because he doesn't want all the attention focused on him. He wants the attention focused on his teaching and on the kingdom, which is what he's trying to bring in. So have this mind in you. Be of the same mind that in humility counts others better than ourselves. To think of others before we think of ourselves. To be willing to put ourselves out for others. And it's hard. It's hard. When you're tired, you're fed up, you've just sat down for a moment's quiet and the phone rings or the doorbell goes and somebody needs help or assistance. Our first inclination is, go away, give me some peace. But we have to have the humility to count others better than ourselves and let God look after the rest. Have a great day. I hope you have somewhere to go for fellowship this morning and be very blessed as you worship God. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.